To visit Versailles, we took the metro to a train station where special packages to Versailles were sold. These included admittance fees, a self-guided audio tour, and unlimited train riding for the day. Here you see the gate to Versailles. As you look at the front of Versailles, it's hard to imagine that this was originally a hunting lodge for King Louis XIII. At least, it's the French monarchy's notion of a hunting lodge. Louis XIII had it expanded, and Louis XIV went nuts, giving us the opulent palace that exists today. When Louis XIV was a child, the French had a minor revolt called the Fronde, which is the French word for sling. At the time, some Catholic cardinals had largely been running things in France, and they tried to tax the Parliament of Paris, which wasn't a parliament in the real sense, but was a group of nobles who literally bought their seats in Parliament so they could tell other people what to do. Maybe it's not so different from today, after all. Well, the nobles got mad, and they started throwing rocks at the windows of the cardinal supporters, including the Louvre Palace, where Louis XIV was. After the first Fronde, there was another. Eventually, civil war broke out. After a few years of fighting and general anarchy, everyone felt worn out and rallied around the king for stability. Well, this was good because everyone in Europe was engaged in various wars, including France. Here you're looking at the chapel of Versailles. With absolute control of France, Louis XIV wanted to get away from Paris with its revolting peasants and parliamentarians, who scared him by throwing rocks at his windows when he was a little boy. So he relocated the government and the court from the Palace of the Louvre, one and the same as the Art Museum, to Versailles. Here you see Madison, Pam, and Mackenzie standing in the marble courtyard, which was part of the original palace. This is the king's residence at Versailles. The king's bedchamber. The railing was a dividing line to keep everyone out. Apparently the king used to sit in bed and issue decrees. This is an example of some of the elaborate wall finishes at Versailles. This is an even more elaborate clock. The Dauphin's bedchamber. Dauphin is the French word for dolphin. In heraldry, a dolphin device on a shield means the bearer is the family's oldest son. Le Dauphin was the heir apparent to the throne. The Dauphin's library. Here's a teaching instrument which is surprisingly accurate for the time. Versailles is extremely opulent. Look at the ceiling. Here's a fresco from the Queen's bedchamber. The picture doesn't show how much the fresco extends out from the wall. Nice backyard. One of the formal gardens at Versailles, and a fleur-de-lis. Pam taking a picture of Madison. The back of Versailles. Versailles was the king's getaway. Once Louis relocated the government and everyone was at Versailles, he no longer had a getaway. So being Louis XIV, he bought the village of Trianon, leveled it, and built a house for partaking of collations, or light meals. This was another huge palace, located in the backyard of the main palace, but out of sight behind the trees to the right. That's a big backyard. Versailles is so big that it was used as a model for the layout of Washington, D.C. Here's one of the many fountains. Unfortunately, the fountains were only active on Sundays. Orangerie and Piste de Sucez. I think that's how it's pronounced. The back of the other side of the palace. Here's Madison and Mackenzie standing at the edge of a formal garden, looking across the Orangerie. Another shot of the Orangerie. The Orangerie and Piste de Sucez, a Roman amphitheater found in the gardens.